There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise inside becomes louder than the world outside. Thoughts collide, worries multiply, emotions swell, and suddenly the mind feels like a battlefield with no escape. You try to force yourself to calm down, to think positively, to just relax, but the chaos only grows stronger. If you've ever wondered why your mind refuses to stay quiet, or why peace feels so distant even when nothing is wrong, this message is for you. For thousands of years, ancient traditions studied the nature of the mind long before modern psychology existed. They didn't fight the chaos. They learned how to understand it. They discovered principles that don't just reduce mental noise, they transform your relationship with it entirely. And today, you'll learn 3 of these principles. If you stay with this video until the end, you may walk away with clarity you haven't felt in years. You may finally understand why your mind feels the way it does, and how peace becomes possible, even when life is uncertain and thoughts won't stop coming. This isn't about silencing your mind by force. It's about mastering the chaos from the inside. It's about discovering what ancient masters always knew. Peace isn't something you chase. It's something you uncover. Before we begin, I want you to notice something simple. Right now, as you listen to these words, how many other thoughts are trying to pull your attention away? Maybe worries about tomorrow. Maybe something from your past resurfaced. Maybe a feeling in your body that made you uneasy. The mind does this automatically. It jumps like a restless flame, flickering endlessly in every direction. Ancient teachers compared the untamed mind to a wild horse that runs without guidance, dragging the rider behind it. And for most people, this is exactly how life feels. You don't guide your thoughts guide you. You don't choose your emotions surge and pull you without warning. But here is the truth those ancient masters understood. The mind is not your enemy. The chaos is not a sign of weakness. It is simply a sign that the mind has never been trained. Just like any wild animal, it follows instinct, momentum, and habit. You suffer because no one ever taught you how to master it. Today, that begins to change. The first principle is the principle of mental impermanence, the understanding that every thought, every emotion, every wave of chaos is temporary by nature. This is not a poetic idea, it is a direct observation. Consider a moment of anger, fear, or anxiety that once consumed you. In the moment, it felt overwhelming, permanent, like it would follow you forever. But where is it now? That storm that once filled your entire world has already dissolved. Ancient practitioners noticed that the mind behaves like the weather. Clouds form, storms rise, winds change, and then, without forcing anything, the sky returns to calm. Your thoughts behave the same way. The only reason chaos feels permanent is because you treat every thought as if it demands your attention. You believe the story immediately. You dive into the fear. You react as if the mind's noise is truth. But if you step back and observe, you'll see something remarkable. No thought lasts. Even the thoughts you cling to eventually dissolve. When you deeply understand this impermanence, the mind begins to loosen. You stop treating every thought like an emergency. You stop assuming every worry is important. When a thought appears, you let it rise and fall like a passing cloud. And suddenly, the chaos loses its grip. The second principle is the principle of inner simplicity, the ability to separate pure experience from the stories your mind invents. Chaos rarely comes from what is happening. It comes from what your mind says about what is happening. A tight chest becomes a story about anxiety. A silence in a relationship becomes a story about rejection. A mistake becomes a story about failure. A small ache in the body becomes a story about danger. The mind multiplies everything. Ancient teachers explained that suffering often begins not with the event, but with the layers of commentary the mind adds automatically. A monk once said, "Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional." What he meant was this: the moment something uncomfortable happens, the mind immediately builds fear, prediction, and judgment around it. The original sensation was simple, but the story becomes enormous. Imagine hearing rain outside your window. The rain itself is neutral, yet one person sees peace, another sees inconvenience, another sees disappointment. Nothing changed except the story. When you stop adding stories, the mind becomes still. You experience life as it is, not as the mind exaggerates it. You begin to see reality without distortion. When something happens, you let it be simple. A feeling is a feeling, a sound is a sound, a thought is a thought. No drama, no predictions, no emotional spirals. This principle alone can reduce mental chaos by half.
The third principle is the deepest one, the principle of awareness. The realization that beneath all thoughts, emotions, and chaos, there is a quiet presence that does not change. Ancient traditions describe this presence as the sky, while thoughts were clouds passing through. Most people spend their entire lives staring at the clouds, forgetting that the sky even exists. They chase pleasant thoughts, fear unpleasant ones, and cling to every cloud as if it were the whole world. But when you shift your attention to the awareness behind your thoughts, everything changes. You realize that you are not the chaos. You are the one witnessing the chaos. Thoughts rise and fall. Emotions surge and fade. But awareness remains untouched, constant, peaceful. It is the background stillness that you've known your entire life, even if you didn't have a name for it. Every moment of calm clarity you've ever felt came from this place. When you rest in awareness, the chaos loses all power. You can observe your thoughts like waves on the surface of a vast ocean. The waves move, but the ocean remains deep and unmoved. You no longer drown, you no longer chase, you simply notice, and within that noticing, peace reveals itself. These three principles, impermanence, inner simplicity, and awareness, create a transformation that doesn't require you to fight your mind. It teaches you to understand it. When you see that thoughts dissolve on their own, you stop clinging. When you stop adding stories, you stop suffering unnecessarily. When you rest in awareness, you become unshakable. Ancient masters didn't eliminate mental chaos, they learned to stand above it. They learned to breathe peacefully even while the storm continued around them. The chaos didn't win, and neither does it have to win over you. Now imagine applying these principles in your own life. Imagine feeling a wave of anxiety and not panicking because you know it will pass. Imagine catching yourself adding dramatic stories to simple moments and gently letting them go. Imagine stepping into awareness, even for a few seconds, and feeling a quiet, stable presence beneath the noise. You would begin to live differently. You would respond instead of react. You would feel grounded instead of overwhelmed. You would breathe deeper, think clearer, and move through the world with a calm strength that nothing outside you can shake. Mental chaos would still come, but it would no longer control you. You would know what ancient masters knew, that peace is always available beneath the surface. But understanding these principles is only the beginning. You must practice noticing impermanence. You must catch the stories your mind invents. You must return to awareness again and again. Each time you do, the mind becomes quieter. Each time you observe instead of reacting, the chaos loses power. Each time you rest in awareness, you deepen your connection to inner peace. Over time, you may find that the mind stops attacking you. Thoughts still appear, but they come like visitors instead of invaders. Emotions still rise, but they no longer drown you. The chaos still moves, but you remain steady. If anything in this message resonated with you, I invite you to pause right now and reflect. Which principle speaks to you the most? Which one feels like the key you've been missing? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience may help someone else feel less alone in their own mental battles. And if this video brought you insight or comfort, don't forget to like it so more people can discover these teachings, and subscribe for more content that brings clarity, depth, and peace into your life. There is much more to learn, and this journey into the mind has only just begun. Thank you for watching.